Are live.
Welcome back to Wandering into Wellness, episode 9, and we are here in the beautiful gardens of Avoca Clonmacaddock.
Yay! Yeah, indeed.
And we're underneath the most beautiful tree of all time, I think.
Getting mostly protected by it.
Mostly protected from the lovely Irish spring weather.
Or the odd drip. There we go.
There's a few drips coming down, but that feels very Irish. So we're in location anyway.
Yeah,
and today we are so lucky to be joined by Maire, who is a universal healing Tao instructor. In fact, she's the first one in Ireland, and she trained directly with Master Untitled Chapter in Thailand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that training and?
Yeah, sure. So I went to train with Master Untitled Chapter over in Thailand. It was like a 1-month instructor training, but before that you had to kind of have done a certain amount of prerequisites and a lot of training before that. So, but yeah, it was really amazing to study directly with him.
Was it your first time meeting him?
No, I had met him previously before that, but with the training then, like he spends a lot of time with the instructors.
Yeah.
And actually at the moment there's, I think there's over 1,000 instructors in the world. Yeah. So, and he's trained like tens of thousands of students. So he's kind of like the person who's really brought the Taoist practices to the West.
Wow.
And like years ago when he trained with his master, he was kind of given instruction to go and bring it to the West. Before that, it was like really kind of closely guarded secrets in Asia. And then, so he actually then moved to Chinatown in New York, and he set up there in the 70s. And he was living in the US for like, I think about 30 years, and then went back to Thailand and set up the Tao Garden there. So it's really, it's a really interesting story from him as well, you know, because he has this, you know, his parents are Chinese, but he was born in Thailand. Actually, he was born into a kind of a Christian tradition.
Oh, wow.
And then kind of led this kind of Western lifestyle over in the US. He's also kind of studied Western medicine. So how he teaches is really applicable to kind of Westerners as well. And then
get him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think more importantly, he kind of gets us actually. So in terms of how he presents information.
Yeah.
So and I think one thing I really like about the Taoist practice is that it's very it's quite scientific as well, you know, and I have I come from a health science background, so I have a degree in occupational therapy, so I have this kind of quite science mind as well, and that really satisfies that part of me, you know, as well as the more intuitive kind of esoteric side.
And how did you end up coming to Tao? When did you first hear about it? How did it become something that you felt like, okay, this is a path that I want to delve deeper into? Yeah,
so I guess I kind of just started exploring different spiritual traditions, you know, like when I was in my 20s, and I'd been kind of traveling around the world, and I'd gone to a few different you know, countries and tried, you know, stayed in ashrams in India. I met the Dalai Lama in northern India.
Any hardcore like Catholic upbringing part as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, had the hardcore Catholic upbringing, and kind of just tried out a few different things, which were all really interesting to me as well. But I kind of found when I was traveling, I often would come across people who were doing the Taoist practice, or I might come across a Taoist book. I suppose the most famous one is the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. It's often kind of quoted. And then I started to have dreams about the Tao and what it is and things like that. And I was really just drawn to, I was like, wow, it was always on my radar, and I thought I really need to kind of find out more about this. And then I was introduced to the Universal Healing Tao system, and that's how the system that Master Chia has brought to the West. So, and once I found that, I guess I started I came to it with kind of like a healthy kind of skepticism, you know, and I was like,
that Western thing.
Which was quite useful as well, you know, because, you know, I kind of said, well, this is going to work if it actually works, not because someone says, oh, this does, you know, makes you feel good, or, you know, whatever. So I kind of went into it with like kind of like the nutty professor, you know, because there's all these formulas and all these like very specific practices to do. So I was really like trying them out, and then just feeling like these really like huge shifts and transformation, you know. So it was kind of almost like a laboratory for me, like to try out these Taoist practices.
You were going out and doing this, and then what does this equal?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a really interesting kind of start to it as well. You know.
Can you give us an idea when you say formulas? Are we talking about like sound meditations, or like things you take as like herb remedies, or what are we doing?
Yeah. So.
Or somewhere in between.
Yeah. So
maybe we should just go back a little bit further than that.
Yeah.
Like we should just go like, what is
the Tao?
Okay.
Okay, fair point.
From there.
Yeah.
Just because.
Okay.
Yeah.
So linear. Anyway, well done for being linear for that moment.
Yeah.
For our listeners.
Yeah.
Never have heard of
exactly. Yeah. So I guess the Tao. So it literally translates as the way. Okay. And it's the way of nature, or the way of not forcing. And the tradition, it's over 4,000 years old, so it predates religion. So it's basically just like a philosophy. It's a way of living, a way of being. It's very much connected with nature. It's quite a simple way of being. And I suppose over the years they really kind of developed a certain kind of practices. But I suppose Taoism in itself, there's many kind of different branches. You know, there's kind of like a shamanic side. There's kind of there would be, you know, where they do internal alchemy, then external alchemy, where they would have taken made these alchemical potions and tried to create like an immortal pill or things like that. And so the tradition that I've studied is the inner alchemy practice. And so from that, we really are concerned with cultivating our chi, which is like a life force. And there's kind of set practices connected to that as well. So, but it's really like the art of kind of transformation. And it's very much concerned with health and longevity. They're kind of the key factors of the Taoist practice. And you know, they would be kind of quite well known, you know, I think Taoist practitioners and certainly Taoist masters for living kind of really long, healthy lives and remaining very youthful and kind of bountiful, like right into their elder years. So.
And is this something that, in an ideal world, would children be introduced to this from the year dot and then be moved up through it, or is it like you get to a certain age and you're like, oh,
here's Tao.
I've got to get into this longevity practices now. In my late 20s, and you know, when would it be great to start?
Yeah, well, I guess so. In my other job, I actually work with kids, so I do these practices with kids as well. So kind of, you know, cultivating chi through kind of qigong is one of the practices. Then there's also meditations, which are one is called the inner smile meditation, where we smile at the organs. We do a healing sounds meditation. We detox the organs. And then there's other branches to Taoism as well. So there's kind of healing arts. So for example, one healing art would be what's called Qi Nei Tsang, and that literally translates as organ detox massage. And it focuses specifically kind of on the abdomen. And so it's quite a deep visceral abdominal massage, and it helps to release kind of toxins, and this area here often becomes the dumping ground for excess emotions, you know. So what we do is it's like a deep kind of abdominal massage that helps to release any toxins, any kind of knots and tension, you know, kind of fascial release, but also actually even physically like massaging the liver, like really, you know. So
I do it with my appendix a little bit, that kind of deep down into the hip. And it's amazing what you get from that, and definitely emotionally it's weird. I mean, we understand a little bit about Chinese philosophy or Asian philosophy around the connections between emotions and organs, but it's still very new to us as Westerners, and we there's not enough, I suppose, evidence-based stuff going on for us to really attach that. It's still seen as very esoteric to
and I think
most.
it's like a connection-based thing, though, isn't it? We're very good even in yoga practices, and you'll have seen this as well, of relating to our external body. And then the internal body is like something that when something goes wrong, we go to the doctor and they give us something and we just go, okay, fix that thing. But we don't have this relationship with our organs. Of, you know, there's my thigh, okay, it's a bit sore, I'm going to massage it, or I'll do this exercise for it. And then the organs are just gone. And in my yoga practice, what I'm really interested in is yoga for the organ body, and getting into that and finding out the interesting things and how can we affect change. So this sounds like a great way that people could begin to have a relationship with their organ body, and knowing why they're there, what's their health status, what can they do to actually affect change in their bodies.
And absolutely, and we call it going back to the body wisdom, and so the organ meditations, and now for me actually it's just so normal that I would like smile to my liver and have a little chat with my spleen, and just going through all the vital organs. But I think it's kind of unusual when people start, where they're smiling to their organs and having this connection with them and listening to the organs as well, and actually you can get like a direct feedback. You can get a sense of, oh, my liver doesn't feel so good today, or and then you can go into, like in the Tao, it's a very preventative approach.
Okay.
So actually, in the Chinese medicine, they would stop paying the doctor when they became unwell.
Exactly. I heard that.
Yeah.
Cool. That is the way.
Yeah.
That is the way.
So it's the responsibility to keep you well. So there's a focus on wellness, and it's kind of the opposite.
It's inverse.
Yes, how we operate.
Okay.
And so the Tao is really about constantly cultivating your health and cultivating your qi, and a big focus on the organ health as well, because this is what keeps everything going, and to be honest, a lot of us, we live from here up, and this is really draining, because when we spend a lot of time in the brain, we're like constantly draining energy, whether it's through what's happening from social media, or on our smartphones or TV, or just in general. And there's so many choices now. There's almost too much choice with so much access to internet, and the Tao is very much rooted in nature, and just coming back to our own bodies as well.
Yeah. So I'm like wondering why it seems to be like that this Taoism, or the practice of Taoism, is like a 4,000-year-old thing, right? But at the same time, it's like seems so relevant now. How, when something is like in those days, there wouldn't have been such a need for people weren't living outside their bodies so much. They weren't living in this kind of cerebral kind of whatever world is kind of cut off from all those kind of body awareness things. So, like how it's just amazing that it seems to have come up now. What do you think it was a response to then, and why is it such a big practice now? Which big part of practice now? Important to practice it now.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's one of the things that is really remarkable, that it is this really ancient philosophy and practice, but that it's so applicable now more than ever, like with our modern kind of time and all the kind of, I suppose, the lifestyles that we now have. Like, it really can bring us back into the body wisdom. But I guess, back in the day, they would have accessed, all of these practices, and I suppose gone into much kind of higher levels of like immortality and things like that. So we're kind of starting from a different baseline now.
Much so.
We're coming from the very beginning, below the beginning, kind of.
So, but it's so relevant, and I suppose I've just found it really beneficial, and actually really quickly, like really quick shifts and transformation. And I think one thing that I really like about it as well is that there are so many different practices to it, that you can just, take something and do it for like 5 minutes, and you never need anything, you can...
You can do it in a hotel room, you can do it on a train.
Exactly, or, you're going for a walk through your park, you can stop and do a little bit of Qigong, and like, for example, I've taught at festivals wearing wellies, scarves, hats, like you don't need to...
You don't need to have the perfect space.
Exactly, so it's really good. And even, for example, like one of my students, like she works night shifts, she's a mum, she's got 3 kids, a really busy life, and like sometimes she just manages to do like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but like she can really notice a difference in that time as well, so it's really really simple.
Do you find that people are coming to you a lot with stress related issues nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I think stress is a big factor kind of all round for people, across all kind of ages. Certainly do find that actually, that would be kind of one of the main things that people would come for,
I find it really, in my yoga practice, what always interests me is that before, when I was teaching kids yoga, I always start my kids yoga practices with everyone sitting in a circle, and I always, no matter what age they are, I always get them to say, I say, so why did you come to yoga today? And everyone has to go around in the circle and they have to give a reason. And usually the younger kids are like, you know, I came because my mummy wanted me to. One time I had a little boy go, I came because mummy said she'd buy me new yoga clothes if I went. I was like, I love you, that's why I do yoga too.
Gotta have the gear.
Exactly, gotta have the new clothes. But usually it's the older kids that they're coming up to exam time, maybe they're 13, that they start saying, I'm coming to yoga because I'm feeling a little bit stressed, I'm feeling a bit anxious about exams. But what's actually happening now more and more is that the kids that are 4 and 5 are saying to me, I'm coming to yoga to handle my stress better. And I'm like,
sorry, 4 and 5?
And I'm saying,
how do they even know the word stress?
How do they even know the word stress? Because it's it's so a part of our life. They're hearing their parents talk about it, and there's such a pressure in school from such an early age now. School starts earlier and earlier. There's homework earlier and earlier. There's all this need, I think, that we have now to where are we, you know, where's our performance level in relation to the country, in relation to our school, are we the A grade, are we this grade? And it's not learning as like, I learn differently to you, we all learn differently. Are we learning, are we enjoying learning? What are we getting from enjoyment of learning? It's all about achievement-based, goal-oriented stuff. And
herd driven as well.
Right.
Like it's all like everybody's learning the same thing, like, and people, 30 people are sitting in the class, nobody's thinking the same thing about it. Nobody really needs to learn in the same way, or from the same person even. Like it's weird that you're not allowed to kind of find or explore it for yourself. And like one of the things I was talking to somebody yesterday about, they came to the CAO late or whatever. They went in as mature students, and it kind of really shocked me or whatever. Just I was reflecting on the fact that, like, I had mature students when I was in college as well, but the rest of us had chosen our path in life when we were 18. What?
What's that about?
That's bonkers.
You can't, and how could you know? I mean, that was what happened. Like, I went to Trinity College because I wanted to go to university. I always loved learning. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I chose philosophy and psychology because I thought that'll probably be interesting. When everyone else was just like partying and not turning up to lectures and going out drinking, and I'd just come from like working in an orphanage in Nepal, living in this slum, and it was so weird for me to come to this place where people had literally been in Nepal. They had one candle and 10 children would be staying up around the candle to do their homework at night, and they were delighted, like they wanted to do that work, they wanted to get ahead. And suddenly I was in this place where everyone was like, how little can we turn up to school, how little work can we do, you know? And I just,
they're both coming at it from the wrong perspective, possibly.
Totally. Well, neither is ideal.
No.
But it just felt so. After a year, anyway, I didn't stay. I stayed for a year, and then I just felt like this is not. I don't want to be a philosophy teacher. I don't want to be a psychology teacher or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Or it's not what I want to do. And why am I just? I'm just staying because this is what I've chosen to do, and this is what we do. We decide it. And then I went off and did all my other stuff, and it wasn't until like late 20s that I found, okay, this is how I can actually bring together all the bits that I'm interested in and then make them work. And I wish it was more like that. That people weren't just having to decide, who am I? At 17, what have you lived?
Without any guidance.
With no guidance.
With, maybe a guidance counsellor, but most of those people are funneled into the same thing as you were, and they don't have any perspective on how the world works.
And often that's just by testing. Like our one was, you did an ISCO test, you got given back this thing, and it was like, you will be good as being a teacher. Or some people got, you will be good as being a bin man.
Really? No, hang on. I'm not going to laugh, because that's a really valid thing. That's amazing. Like, honour the bin men, they take out the trash. Amazing.
Right? But if you're trying to choose a profession in university, not that useful.
No. I'm not sure that there's a university course for it.
I don't think No, exactly. Anyway, to bring it back to relevance, the point is it's stress is coming into our lives earlier and earlier, and it's horrendous to see that in kids so young. And I imagine in your work, you work with kids a lot, and kids that feel that more deeply maybe, or some kids feel it deeper than others. So what practices do you bring in, and can you find that helps?
I guess like one of the main practices, and I think one of the things with stress is that it can be a little bit contagious as well, you know, it kind of passes on. And I suppose in my therapy work we call that co-regulation, so that's sometimes why you'd find that kids are presenting as very anxious or stressed or even angry, because sometimes they can be, that can be the culture at home, or they're feeding off kind of this, their main kind of caregivers. But in terms of Taoism then, in the same way, love can also be kind of contagious as well, you know. So when we cultivate these really good feelings within ourselves, then that also kind of transmits to other people. So in our, you know, in your work relationships, you know, with a partner, whatever, you know, if you're working in community projects, whatever you're doing, that when you cultivate this these really good positive virtues, these good feelings within yourself, that has a really like positive effect as you go about your way in the world. And actually that's the key to work on yourself. That's your obligation, is to do the work on yourself. And it's not in like a selfish way at all, but it's actually that makes a change in the world. You know, when we learn to manage our anger, you know, and we can transform that into kind of generosity or kindness or acceptance, the ability to forgive other people, to forgive, forget, let go, then that has a really strong onwards impact within the world as well.
That's amazing. Yes.
It's exactly that, though, isn't it? And isn't it fascinating that every tradition, every area that we come back to, all the people that we think about interviewing, that we've interviewed with or talked to people, when it comes down to the crux of it, the little seed at the beginning of it, it's all about self-love, love, and acceptance.
It's weird that the word selfish is a negative connotation.
Exactly,
isn't it?
And so especially for mums, I think, or dads, parents, there's this real difficulty in taking that time to go, I need to take time for myself. There's this real guilt that you feel of, I'm taking time away, whereas instead of going, actually this time that I'm taking is building,
I'm coming back a better person.
I'm coming back to them.
To be able to give you some more when I do.
Exactly.
And does Taoism focus on internal versus external relationships as kind of like equally balanced in terms of importance? Is it a selfish art? Is it like, how does it?
I suppose, like they would say, kind of do the work on yourself first. So, for example, but it's also like, if you know, when you go on, if you take a flight, and they say if you're with a younger person, put the oxygen mask on first, and it's kind of so it is like, you know, how can you help other people or support other people unless you're fully resourced yourself? So you have a certain kind of the practice will be to kind of do work on yourself first.
That's the obligation.
But then it's, you know, to kind of love and help other people. It's, you know, there is a kind of altruistic part to it as well, you know, but kind of the focus is to kind of do the work on yourself first, and from there then it just flows.
It's
like it's
effect.
like a ripple effect, and it's very easy to be supportive, to be loving, to accept, you know, to whatever it is you need to do for the people that are around you as such.
Good.
You know,
what was the first sort of feeling you noticed in response to your exploration of Taoism? What came back to you first? What was the first thing you were like, oh, this is working? Or was there a perceptible?
Well, actually, I think I remember when I was doing the inner smile meditation, and maybe we'll try it just after this now. But like smiling to my heart, and I just had this realization of like, I completely have been disconnected from like even the physicality of my heart. Acknowledging like how much it's been working. Like I think there's 50,000 miles of blood vessels within the body, and the heart does so much work, you know.
It never stops.
And never stops,
a continual thing, day in, day out.
So even like from the kind of the real physiological aspect of kind of then acknowledging my heart and thanking it for what it does for me. And so, you know, when I started with the inner smile meditation, I think what happened for me was I really softened with my relationship with myself. And I think for a lot of people that's often a challenge, is that we can be really hard on ourselves and, you know, even critical or whatever. So it was that sense of kind of developing this very loving relationship with myself, and that started with my organs. So
great.
And what's so interesting is I just had this, before Christmas, I had this sinus infection. It was my first ever sinus infection, and wow, it was hardcore. I had no idea that I'd always heard people talk about sinus infections, and I was kind of like, whatever, it's a blocked nose. It didn't seem like that bad. It is so bad. It is so painful. It's completely all-consuming. You relate to the world largely in our modern life through your face. And if this thing on your face feels like you're in agony, it's impossible. You just kind of, you want to be away, you want to be on your own. And if you're someone who is a teacher, who's going out and who then has inversions as a large part of the teaching, having to put your head up to it, I couldn't move my head more than this without feeling like someone had whacked me over the back of the head with a lorry. It was like a physical smack sensation. It was so intense. And then trying to teach down with dogs, or, you know, it was a lot. And I tried everything and I couldn't get rid of it, and I started to build frustration. Why is my body doing this? I look so healthy, I'm trying all these things, why can't I get rid of it? And I started to get really frustrated and let down feeling about my body. And then I just had this moment of realization one day when I was doing the meditation. If my child was suffering, if he was having a tough time, I would be looking at him with compassion and going, you know what, you're having a really tough time right now. Like, I'm going to give you loads of love. I'm going to wrap you in and I'm going to closet you in this love, and that's going to make you heal. And I just thought, I'm doing the exact opposite to my body. I'm just going, you're useless, you're crap. Why aren't you healing? I treat you so well. Such a bad job. And I just sat and did like the yoga version of the loving kindness meditation of trying to send love to those areas. And it just, whether it healed my sinus infection, that can't be proven, but what it definitely did was it changed my relationship to what was happening in my body. And it was such a powerful moment of realization of, hang on, that's what we go to. And if we could just look at our bodies as these little toddlers who are struggling in moments and go, oh, you're having a tough time. Like, how can I be kind to you? And that sounds really like what it is that you're teaching.
How kind of perception is reality as well, isn't it? Like when you see people who are struggling with real physical or other ailments, and you kind of see them really overcoming them from a mental point of view and or psychological point of view, and it's such a testament to character and such a testament to how powerful this thing can be when it's used correctly, and the application of our relationship between our mind and our thoughts and what our body is doing or not doing for us is such a weird thing. The body relationship or organ relationship is amazing.
Absolutely.
Cool. And did you have like esoteric leanings before this kind of thing?
No, absolutely. Like, you know, I kind of have kind of both sides, like kind of the intuitive and the kind of spiritual side, but also then the kind of sciencey side as well, and I find that it just marries really well with the Taoism. So but
and would it be possible to teach us the inner smile meditation so people listening could have
absolutely, we can do, and people at home can join in as we do it. We'll just do a little snapshot. So so if you want to get yourself kind of nice and comfortable, and just make sure that your spine is straight.
Be under a giant cedar tree.
That always helps. And so you're just going to close your eyes, and if you want to just bring your hands in front of your heart, like a prayer position, and you're just going to smile at your heart. A gentle inward smile towards your heart. And just notice the tissues of your heart soften and relax. And feel love and joy and happiness in your heart. Allowing your heart to blossom with love, joy and happiness. And you can see a red light in your heart, shining from your heart, the red light of radiant health and vitality. And the heart is the connection to the universe. And from the heart, we can send love, joy and happiness to every cell in your body. An infinite resource of unconditional love. Just smiling to your heart, thanking your heart. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was really nice. Good treat. Podcasting is not a job.
I dropped into it so quickly. It's amazing how quickly that felt. I mean, it does help to be, with guided. The rain and with the wind and in nature, that does help, but it's such a simple concept, isn't it?
And this is the thing, it's so simple. Like it's incredibly simple, and it's just to take a moment. And what I always say to students is like to do a meditation like that can just take like a minute in the morning before you go out the door to work or whatever, and it's like do you have a minute in the morning?
Everybody has a minute in the morning.
You know,
literally everyone does.
And that's like one of the best ways to start your day, is to relax, come inwards, to come back to the body wisdom. It's a really good way to kind of de-stress, but also to come into this place of love and connection. And you know, like I was saying, I kind of do these experiments, and it's like, well, what happens to my day when I start off with the inner smile meditation? What is the ripple effect throughout the day? And then there's days when I don't, and it's kind of like, okay, that wasn't quite as nice of a day. Yeah.
It feels like you can really see that you would be setting the intention for your day, the intention of sending that love to yourself and to others, and that you would be more inclined to notice those moments where you can do a little random act of kindness for someone else, so that you can just look at someone who might be meeting you with anger or conflict and just go, oh, they're having a tough day. And then just sending that love back to them.
Exactly. And also, like for yourself, the inner smile, what it does is it activates the parasympathetic response. So it's kind of the, you know, that rest and relaxation response. So it's really good for you from kind of a physiological, neurological point of view as well.
It's just doing that antidote to stress.
Exactly.
From first thing in the morning.
And we also say that smiling also helps to keep the energy within as well. So it keeps, so it's used in that way too. It also helps to relax the diaphragm. So that's also good for releasing kind of tension as well. So it's really, it's kind of almost like, and I think when you have that smiling to yourself, it's almost like sets a foundation for your self-esteem, you know, for who your acceptance of yourself, of who you are, and self-worth and all of that. So it's like a really, it's such a great meditation. And like even I say to people, if they, you know, if you work with, you know, a lot of therapists would often come to like Qigong classes that I run, and often just recommend to them to just before you see a client to do the inner smile, even just like that. You can just even just start with the heart, and actually we go around to all of the main organs, and so we get to all of the organs, and then that also impacts on our emotions as well. So for example, when we do healing sounds meditation, we release energy from kind of more negative emotions that are being stored in the organs. So like for example, like we know in the West we're familiar with feeling love in the heart, and people can often even have that physical feeling of love in their heart, but sometimes here we'd say, oh, I feel kind of worried, sick, and we kind of have this sense of, oh, there's like this around here, the digestion, we feel anxiety and stuff like that. So the Tao would have that same concept as well, but they actually went into all of the organs, and now they say, okay, well actually anger we store in the liver, fear is in the kidneys, we hold grief in the lungs, and then so what we do is we do like a healing sound, and maybe I can share one with you. And this is one that again you can try at home, and so we do a sound and a movement, and so the sound is like the optimum vibration of the organ, and the movement, it physically we activate the organ, and also we activate the meridian as well. Okay, so maybe one that we could try would be the lung sound. Okay, and so we can try this then. So we just, if you want to just close your eyes, and you're just going to use your eyes to look left, right, over and back into your lungs. And this helps to remove the emotion as we look left, right, over and back into your lungs. And just notice if there's any feelings of sadness, any grief, isolation. And we're going to release this emotion. So if you want to open your eyes, we're going to inhale, bring the hands up. And we go. And we bring the hands down, and we forgive, forget, and let go from the lungs. Good. And so we usually kind of repeat that a few times, and then we cultivate the positive virtues. So the positive virtues of the lungs then will be courage and confidence. Kind of our self-worth is in the lungs, kind of integrity or righteousness as well. So we would, you know, so it's kind of, it's this concept of yin and yang. We have the light and the dark, and so we can let go of the emotions that basically no longer serve us. We don't necessarily need to hold on to this grief, because it can really bring you down, can be quite tiring as an energy. And then we focus on cultivating the positives. And so, and like one thing I really like that, you know, Master Chi always says is like, emotional is here to stay. Like emotions, you know, it's not that we're trying to completely get rid of them. No, but actually they do grow quite fast, like weeds. Okay, so we want to tend to them. Keep them, you know, moving and release this kind of excess emotion that's there, which can kind of negatively impact on us. But it's not, you know, because I think sometimes in the spiritual world it's like, oh my God, I felt hatred towards a person, and it's like, oh, I'm such a bad person. But it's like, it's, you know, it's normal, you know, and it's normal to feel emotions, but it's actually what we try and do is bring them back into balance. So that, you know, you feel good and you don't harm anyone and stuff like that.
Give it its moment in the sun, rather than just
rather than suppressing it. It's to kind of
going, emotions are here. They serve a purpose, and then that purpose has left and they move on. So those particular emotions, they move through, and there's that impermanence of the constant cyclical nature of those emotions, rather than getting stuck in one part of that cycle and sitting with that and letting it.
And I think one thing that you find with this is that sometimes when you focus inwards, you know, and it's developing that inner observation that's really beneficial, and when you do focus inwards on the organs, that you can, you know, you kind of notice, oh, actually I didn't realize that I was feeling, you know, resentful towards that person, and okay, that's something, and so we've acknowledged it, but we can then let it go, you know. So that's, I just find that really kind of beneficial as well.
One thing you were saying about grief, it's interesting, because Irish culture, we have some issues with grief, I think, but what and holding on to emotions kind of from the past as a nation, but one of the things that we do really well is, you know, after funerals we always had wakes, these long before funerals we had these long wakes, and that idea of keening and all those, that noise that we use the lungs, and these sorts of very, like, you don't hear those sounds come out of humans unless they're in this kind of deep sort of grief. And it's interesting that we're one of the few kind of cultures, Western cultures, that still acknowledges that, and everyone always kind of says, oh, they waked him and it was great. Everyone always loves the wake. Yes, there's a whole load of maybe permissive, you know, behavior that goes on in that, but the core of it is such an important part of that emotional release as well. And it's nice to find those things in a culture that we don't necessarily see as being, I suppose, spiritually advanced. Maybe we kind of look to the east. It's nice to know there are those little kernels in our own culture that we can still kind of like express and hang on to and grow and nurture.
Absolutely.
Do you find any other kind of, I know we don't like that, or I'm really excited that you talked about the emotion organ relationship. That was one of the things I want to ask you about. But do you find, are there other things where you find those connections in cultures that maybe you wouldn't expect, like things that you're learning in Taoism that you're seeing reflected in other cultures, or have you come across those types of things?
Like there's often kind of parallels, you know, as you go learning the, you know, different traditions. And like I said, I kind of tried other spiritual traditions as well. So I guess like a lot of times they're often kind of similar, but come in a different way or a different practice. So
I'm sure that because you trained in yoga therapy for children with additional needs the same way that I did, and I'm sure it must be interesting for you coming from that yoga background and then now having also trained in the Tao and being able to bring those parallels together. And it's kind of about finding which is the most comfortable one for you, and then drawing on all of them and being able to go, this one works in this situation, this one works in this situation. And the seed, like we were talking about before, that's the same. The original point, the whole heart of the message is the same, but then what springs up from it is the different flowers, and then you pick which one's appropriate at which time.
And actually one thing that I really liked about Taoism is that it kind of covered a lot of things that I was kind of interested in. So for example, like I've mentioned already, there's kind of the healing arts, there's the Qigong, so the kind of physical practices, and Tai Chi as well. And then also some of the other like branches of Taoist arts would be like Feng Shui as well as a Taoist art, and even like kind of 5 elements cooking and things like that. And then also kind of the sexual alchemy
Oh, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, great. And so that was something because, you know, really, like, again, having that Catholic upbringing, and particularly in Ireland, I think there's, you know, quite a lot of suppression around sexuality. And also just even, like, for me, I found what was being offered by Western society in general, not necessarily as a religious viewpoint, but it just really wasn't resonating with me. And you know, and I would say I felt quite disconnected from myself sexually before finding this practice, and it was something that I really wanted, you know, really wanted to kind of explore in a different way. And Taoism is, like, particularly well known for its sexual practice. And this Mantak Chia, he calls it healing love, and it's, you know, just this understanding that we can use sexual energy as a real way to kind of heal ourselves, and it's such a loving practice, and it's so important to connect the love and sex, but also it's used to cultivate our energy, cultivate our vitality, and also as a longevity practice as well, so to kind of live well into kind of your elder years, you know.
And what does that look like when you're talking about using those practices to cultivate longevity? How does that apply within a male body, within a female body, within a relationship? Can you do it when you're not in a relationship?
Yeah,
how is that?
Absolutely. Well, I suppose the first thing is in the Tao, so it was, sex is seen as a matter of health rather than as a matter of morality. Okay, so it's seen as being really, really important for our health, and actually like the foundation of our health and our vitality, because essentially this is the energy that we've all come from. We've all come from sexual energy or sexual chi. So it's
it's really interesting. I never thought that, and yet it's such a fundamental obvious.
Exactly. So, and also it's like really, really powerful, really potent energy that we have. It's like this. We call it Jing in the Chinese tradition, in the Taoist tradition, and it's a generative energy, like a creative energy. So this is an energy that we can actually harness, okay, and we can use this to develop our own chi and life force, and also to develop our own spirituality as well, because it's a really refined energy. This is like really high octane energy, okay. But of course, for the most part, we just waste this energy. So for men, they lose their sexual chi when they ejaculate, and for women, when we have our periods, when we bleed, have our menstruation, and also during childbirth as well, we lose some of the Jing as well.
So you lose sexual energy through menstruation?
Yeah.
That I hadn't heard before. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're losing your seed.
Of course, I suppose. But I suppose the idea that you recultivate on a monthly basis, I'd never recognise that as being like a loss and stuff, and it's seen as an important part of like health and regeneration as well, right? Is it? Yeah,
but we're actually losing energy at this time, and so you'll see that women will notice that in their cycles, that they're kind of low energy, and you know, maybe just coming up to it or during their period and that. So in the Tao, they develop these practices to recycle this energy. So rather than wasting the energy for women month by month, for men when they have sex and ejaculate, they have these practices. So for women, they use the term ovarian kung fu, which I really like. So and for men, they use the term the dance of the testes.
Dance of the testes.
Quite dainty.
Both very animatable things.
So they have these practices, and essentially what you're doing is you're able to recycle the energy. Okay. So for women, they do kind of this ovarian breathing practice, and so we kind of draw the energy from the egg, and then we draw it down, and we can recycle it through what we call the microcosmic orbit. So we have this channel that runs up the back of the body, up towards the crown and down again, and so we can charge up your system. So this is like this vital current that we have. We send the energy through. It nourishes all the organs, the glands, it nourishes the brain, and so it's a really regenerative practice and really good kind of rejuvenation. And then for men, they can learn how to separate ejaculation from orgasm. Okay.
And similar to Tantra, like it's the same idea as Tantra.
I guess. But I guess with the Tao, what I found is that like they really teach you how to do that.
Okay, right.
There's very specific practices around that. Because I think one thing that I found, and even for example, people contacting me, guys, saying that they're having kind of, maybe difficulties, and they've read a book and they're trying to practice, and all of a sudden they're getting these problems, and that can happen actually, because we say that it's really important to train, and that it takes time to learn these practices. And for example, if you kind of just mechanically just suppress ejaculation, that can cause difficulties, because really what you're doing is you're just kind of blocking the energy.
Interesting.
And so what that can do is actually can cause difficulties with the prostate. It can cause like kind of inflammation, things like that. Or also even emotionally, it's like if you try and push a ping pong down underwater and then it's going to pop up the other side. So sometimes you can have like an excess of emotional energy as well. So what happens is you kind of through a series of kind of practices and exercises train to actually be able to draw the energy up and through the microcosmic orbit, but then importantly we bring it down and we store it here again, because we say that like sexual chi, it's like fire. So you can use it to cook, to heat your home, but it can also burn the house down.
Sure.
So it's really important that you learn how to because because sometimes people hear this, for men it's maybe better not to ejaculate, but actually it's really important to learn the correct techniques for that as well.
So it's something that needs to be guided.
Yes, absolutely.
You should be just dabbling in at home, reading a little bit, trying it out, because there are consequences either way.
Absolutely,
that teacher.
Absolutely,
And do you teach that?
We run a healing love workshop usually once a year, and actually a senior instructor comes over from France. His name is Olivier Barret, and we teach together the healing love practice. But also coming up we have Master Mantak Chia is going to be here really soon.
When is that?
So he's here from the 18th to the 22nd of May.
So it's next week?
Next week, and
next week, Thursday to Sunday.
The Friday to the Tuesday. So and this is the very first time he's come to Ireland, so it's like a really, really big deal. Like he's written over 56 books. He's like true master, and he's going to be here next week. So he's going to be teaching the foundations and also the healing love practice as well.
And how can people, where exactly is it on, and how can people access and get tickets?
So to get tickets you can go to my website, which is universaltao.ie. Okay, so and there's information about all the web on that.
It's coming to Dublin?
To Dublin, and it's in the F2 Centre in Rialto.
Okay, perfect.
Very central, just off the Lewis.
Okay. And so if people also have more questions about what we've been talking about today, or any of the practices, or they'd like to come learn from you, do you do one-on-one sessions as well?
I teach classes, so weekly classes, and also I run workshops kind of year-round as well. And sometimes women come to me in particular for one-to-one, because I teach the Jade egg practice. And I don't know.
Can you just say a
little bit about that?
Are you going to ask me? Yes, we are.
Yes. So I have a jade egg with me. So this is a jade egg, and this is a Taoist practice, and this is one of the things that we use to cultivate sexual chi for women. And so it's an internal practice. So we learn kind of a method to receive the egg inside the vagina, or in the Taoist tradition we use the term jade fountain, which is much more poetic. So we learn how to kind of sip the egg inside, and then what the egg is used then to help to cultivate sexual energy as well. So a lot of women find this practice really healing. It's really good, and along with the other practices as well, like with the ovarian kung fu, really good to help balance hormones. So for example, will help you can have pain-free periods, reduce things like PMS. One of the other practices would be to actually one of the benefits can be that actually it reduces the amount that you bleed. So that's one of the ways that women conserve their sexual chi, is that you can actually reduce the amount that you're losing per month.
Okay.
And then with time, some practitioners would actually, their periods would actually stop. We call this slaying the red dragon. So that's a more kind of advanced level.
Right. And Western medicine, that's seen as a strong negative, like
I
not a good
know,
thing.
yes, I know, yeah. But it's not good if you're not doing the practice, if it naturally happens. But it's seen as a way to conserve the essence as well. So
why Jade?
So Jade was actually just really auspicious to the Chinese in the ancient days. So, and also because it's said to open the heart, and it's very much connected with the kidneys.
Okay.
And the kidneys are really important in the Taoist tradition because they actually regulate the sexual chi, our sexual energy, and they're also very much related to longevity as well. So we kind of store our kind of vitality in the kidneys.
Yeah.
So we have kind of quite a healthy obsession with looking after the kidneys and cultivating the energy of the kidneys. So Jade is also connected to the kidneys as well. And it's a very gentle, energetically, it's just very gentle stone. And this Jade is what we call nephrite Jade. So it's
dark.
Yeah, it is. It's quite a dark colour. Yeah. And it's also it's non-porous, and that makes it useful for kind of and safe and hygienic for intimate use.
And so when people are learning those practices, would it be like a group workshop? Like how does that work?
Well, actually, usually I run a Jade Egg workshop, and we learn the foundation practices first, and then we kind of move on to kind of working a little bit more with sexual energy. We also do practices like breast massage for breast health, also really good for hormonal balance and helping to reduce PMS kind of on a monthly basis. So usually, we learn it in a group, and the room is kind of set up in a very kind of safe way, in a kind of special way that you can't see anyone else or anything like that.
You are there actually doing it at that time.
Yeah,
that's great, because it feels like if it was a practice that you were being told something about, and then you were going home and trying to do it on your own, and your questions would naturally arise, and then you'd be having to wait till the next week to describe the situation.
No, it is. It's really amazing practice. Like, it's been so transformative for me using the Jade Egg. It's so self-healing and really connects women to like their femininity as well, and it's so needed, because actually the world we live in is quite masculine, it's quite yang, and it's go, 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 you know. And to be able to tap into that yin essence, that real sense of being, is really, really special, and it kind of connects in with, kind of higher sense of yourself as well. So it's a really beautiful practice, and the same, with the healing love practice, it's so powerful, it's so beautiful, so healing, and it's such a resource for us that we can be able to learn how to use these practices. And actually, like back in the day, hundreds or thousands of years ago, this was a natural function of humans, where women and men understood how to harness the sexual energy, but it's kind of like a product of degeneration of society that we've lost this, and to me, it's just amazing that this is actually available to us now. Like these really deep, transformative, real practices, that can create massive shifts in a really short space of time. So, and like, I just feel really grateful to be able to share this here in Ireland with people. I'm so grateful that I found the practices and have trained with Master Chia as well. I kind of feel like I'm on a mission to bring the Tao to Ireland.
That's when you find your way, isn't it?
Maire,
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I am definitely going to come to the next Jade Egg workshop.
Jade
Egg thing. Tell me about the Jade Egg.
So excited. And thank you for sharing all that knowledge and those little tips for people at home listening. And if people at home want to get in touch with you, will you just say your website one more time?
Yeah, so it's universaltao.ie.
Universaltao.ie.
Last of all, we have, as you know, hopefully as you know, if you're watching the first time, you know, but every podcast we do a giveaway for those of you guys who subscribe to our channel, like it, and post our favourite comment of each one. So it's a goodie bag full from use this lovely barrel bag, gym bag thingy. Use it to go on weekends away to your Taoist workshops or whatever you want. But yeah, I've always packed with fun stuff.
Eggs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put a lot of Jade eggs in something. I'm not sure if you'll be able to lift it after. But yeah, so please like and subscribe, comment, and go and find out more about Moira's practice. That's really interesting to me, and I'm sure we'll all be exploring that in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks.